I'm going to talk about digital ordering today, and it always really helps to understand a little bit about the audience here. So let me just take a quick poll. How many of you are operators? Okay, so the majority. And how many are actually involved in digital ordering today? Okay. All right, excellent. And how many of you are thinking of doing it in the future? Okay, a few more. Terrific. I got a great introduction already. I'm not going to talk about this, except it misses one of my key credentials, which is I am the father of two millennial techies, and I'm the CIO of my household, and I'll get back to that because they're a learning lab for me in terms of what works. A little bit about the experience from which I'm talking today. My firm Loyalty Plan is 6 years old. We were founded by a Motorola employee, an engineer who's an Intel Prize winner, who really understands the ability of mobile to be transformative for both consumers and businesses. He was frustrated by the mass promotion that he was seeing, and he clearly saw the ability to build relationships with consumers with the mobile medium. So we've been working with major restaurant clients like KFC, Burger King, Pizza Hut, Hooters globally. We work in 8 different countries. And we came to the US about a year and a half ago and are working with some innovative companies here like Balanced Grill out of Ohio, who's number 32 in the Fast Casual 100, Get Fried, and others. Currently, we support 9 million users with our mobile apps, and digital ordering is a key piece of functionality that we've worked into the mobile app. Our formula overall for a successful mobile app, and we're all about quantitative measure of success. Our formula is to create engagement and then monetize that engagement. So we strongly believe that every digital effort should be monitored for benchmarks. And in your bags, you'll see some of the benchmarks that we produced on the key performance indicators that we know can be achieved by our clients. And I'll refer back to those as we go. So why digital ordering for your restaurant? Well, today we sat through a general session where, broadly speaking, the restaurant industry in 2016 was flat. I've seen some negative figures, one of them is here, regarding growth overall. And certainly we're seeing in 2016 negative growth in formal dining and some of the operators like the Applebee's and TGI Fridays who haven't really adapted to today's consumer and a lot of the trends. Well, the good news is all that could change for every segment of our industry. The good news is 18% increase in use of mobile apps on the web to order food from a restaurant in 2016. When I talk to executives in our industry, what I'm finding is a great deal of concern, maybe some fear, uncertainty, and doubt about how digital ordering is really going to be affecting their business over the next couple of years. So what I wanted to do today was give you kind of an overview of how we see digital ordering progressing, and then talk a little bit about how you can really make it work for you in order to hit the kinds of key performance indicators that will clearly outpace your competition. So overall, digital ordering was growing 300% faster than dine-in traffic over the last year, and it clearly is a key issue for the industry. A recent survey showed that 23% have launched digital ordering and 40% are actively working on it. Now, within the environment overall, you're looking at 80% plus smartphone penetration among US diners. So clearly, you've got a mobile device available 24/7, and I think you guys all know the stats. On average, an American looks at their phone somewhere between 50 and 600 times a day. For most people, it's rarely outside of 5 feet for a 24-hour period. So you're talking about a ubiquitous digital device that can be a communication channel for your business that allows folks to place an order for a restaurant order for either dine-in, takeout, or delivery 24/7. So this is going to be an awesome sea change for the industry that you're just beginning to see the effects of currently. So I think this is the most important slide that I could show you, because really there are three factors that are going to influence your ability to grow sales, and they remain constant. The first is the acquisition of new customers. And we talk a lot and hear a lot about millennials, but, and I'll come back to it over and over again here, because millennials are now 25% of the overall populace. And you've got to understand the millennial mindset. My two at home are sort of the earlier millennial generation that grew up with gaming consoles. But it's really frightening because 10 years after they were born, you're talking about a group that only has really seen mobile devices. So everything that that's been fairly new for me over time is completely native to them. And when you talk about mobile and you talk about the context in which you're going to be working with your customers and developing these relationships, let's think bigger. Let's think about Facebook. Let's think about Instagram. Let's think about Uber. Let's think about Amazon. These are all primary apps. In the case of, say, Uber, they don't offer anything other than an app. So if you want to use their service, it's all about the power, the convenience, the speed of ordering a car with an Uber. In a similar way, a Facebook newsfeed has conditioned everyone to look down at the personalized and relevant news that's available to you. That's what they're going to feed you, and that's what keeps people coming back. Similar way, it's an Instagram generation for food. If they like what they're seeing, they want to post it on social media and share it with their friends. So this is a massive sea change in the way that consumers and younger consumers are consuming restaurants, and you need to be able to put yourself in that mindset and think about it. The second piece is bigger checks. And the great news about digital ordering is, if you have a menu in front of you on a mobile device, you are going to order more. There's no, well, it's not true in every case. What we are finding is that mobile checks are 23% higher. I'll give you two good reasons for that. The first is, a mobile check, when you have the power of the menu in your hand and you're under no pressure to order from a waiter, you'll sit there and you'll look at it, and particularly if the menu is visual, you'll look at it, and the more you look at food, I'm susceptible. I gained 15 pounds since I started here. But the more you look at pictures of food, the more likely you are to be a customer and order something. So a delicious side order of fries with your burger that you might not have been considering before, under no pressure, with no one looking and no one hearing, you'll order it. The other piece about bigger checks is clearly an ability to take advantage of the kinds of catering options that are out there. You now have a situation where, with one of my clients who's Ohio-based, they love to be doing more catering. Well, what they're finding is they would never had a way into one of the largest corporations, say, we'll call it Procter & Gamble. But they have lots of employees who love their food. So when it comes time to actually ordering and catering for a lunch, they're conditioned to use the app. They'll go in, and they're incentivized to use the app. So suddenly you've got catering orders coming in as well. So that's bigger checks. The third one is higher guest frequency. Well, guess what? Mobile ordering is a digital ordering is a function. So it needs to be embedded in a context in which the diner and the guest is truly engaged. So what you're going to do to get guest frequency is communicate with them. Make sure that you're understanding that customer on a personal and relevant basis, and send them messages and promotions that are compelling to them. And you'll clearly have the higher guest frequency that you're looking for. As well, we're seeing two different aspects, both the takeaway and the delivery aspects of what we do, both growing in very interesting ways. And I'll come back to that in a second. So why choose a mobile app to provide digital ordering? There are an awful lot of digital channels that you could choose. Recently, in my neighborhood, a McDonald's cafe opened. They have kiosks. They probably spent $50,000 each on these kiosks. And as soon as I saw them, it was like, why do you do that? I mean, I've got a phone. I don't want to be tethered to a physical location to use a digital device. Why not just give me that functionality on my phone, and I'll go ahead and do it? And there's no shortage of great examples of that. The one that I typically pull out is Starbucks. How many of you are Starbucks users? Okay. So Starbucks currently has $1.2 billion of our money that we basically gave them in prepaid gift cards that we use for mobile order and pay with them. That's bigger than a lot of banks. I'm beginning to think of Starbucks really as being more of a tech company that actually serves coffee than really a coffee company that got into tech. 30% of their orders overall are mobile ordering now. And they want you to use the app. That is their primary channel. In addition to that, from the mobile order piece, 10% of their overall orders are actually mobile order and pay that have been prepaid in that way. So definitely the app is a great way to provide the digital ordering experience. And it's completely consistent with how consumers overall are consuming mobile. 87% of mobile time is spent in apps. Not everyone knows that the mobile web is kind of, in many ways, lost. So the responsiveness, the ability to build a mobile app that is truly compelling, that has very fast speed time, that gathers the data that you're looking for, that allows you to build a personal and relevant experience for your customer, is really where it's at. No shortage of stats around this. 60% of restaurant app users use them to place orders. 23% of all food orders are made through mobile ordering. More than 35% restaurant customers have downloaded at least one restaurant brand's app. And what really rocked my world, because I've been working in mobile for 4 years and never really thought about restaurants until roughly 2.5 years ago, was suddenly in April 2016, Chick-fil-A relaunched their app. And overnight, they became more popular than Instagram, Facebook, you name it. They were the #1 app in both the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. How'd they do it? Well, it was about their 3rd iteration, I think, overall of an app. And they realized the power of what they had, and they repackaged it, and they did offer a free chicken sandwich for the download. So there's no doubt that, that's massive. But I know from speaking to people in the industry, still very profitable for them overall. And when you look at the KPIs that leading brands are able to achieve, I talked a little bit about Starbucks before. Domino's is one of the other great kind of success stories. Over 40% of their sales are done via the mobile app, and they have a massive digital overhaul that they've gone through. In addition, Taco Bell is seeing 30% higher average order values on mobile compared to in-store. We also talked about this morning the need for greater efficiency within our operations. Well, clearly, asking the consumer to do the work of ordering both improves accuracy and also cuts down on your labor costs significantly, because suddenly you no longer have to have someone actually taking down an order wondering if it was exactly what they were looking for. So I talked about the importance of millennials. They are twice as likely as boomers and Gen X to have used a restaurant's mobile app. And again, if you think about the millennial who grew up on mobile, they've been conditioned to download and look for an app. Their expectations are very different around what that relationship should be. Generally, and we actually have done a number of panels with millennial restaurant owners who are seeing great success, talking not only about customers, but about employees as well, and how visually based these people are. they're so used to being able to see YouTube videos on just about anything that a lot of the training that's done, a lot of the promotion comes through video. 62% have placed a digital order with a restaurant in the past 6 months, and that number is only growing. So the importance of the millennial as your customer, I talked about 25% of the US population being millennial, which means having been born between roughly 1980 and 2000. They actually represent, for the majority of restaurants, about 50% of the overall sales. So an incredibly important generation to get to and conditioned to become regulars with your restaurant. What we also know from the research is that app users are far more valuable than web customers. A lot of catchy phrases in what we do. It's the brand in your hand. I mean, quite literally, it is an extension of what you do. I go to a lot of restaurant conferences, and I think one of the presentations I really enjoyed was TGIF talked about providing the booth experience outside of the store. So they want to surround the customer with their TGIF experience and make it highly engaging as a lifestyle. And the great advantage of mobile is really contained in that second phrase. It's the right message to the right customer at the right time. I'll just talk about what is obviously happening that you may not see, but the dining occasions are under direct attack by all of your competitors. Obviously, breakfast has become a contributor to growth for all of us, but lunch has been declining. There's a real need to be able to use the digital platform that we provide or that others might provide in order to talk directly to the business objectives of the operator. So there are tactics that you can take to give the right message to the right customer at the right time. For instance, in digital ordering, where you know that a customer has ordered a pizza on Mondays. Typically, there must be some occasion, maybe a football game, maybe a broadcast that they have people coming over and they're eating a pizza. And you don't see a pizza order. Well, suggestive selling says, send that person a push notification message with a pizza in front of them and give them a deal. Give them good reasons to make that order. This is all enabled, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into geo-marketing as well, because there's an ability to deliver the message right to that user at the right time. And we know that app users convert 3 times more than mobile websites. That's because they're engaged. So clearly an app user who's looking at your app has a relationship with your brand, and if you can send them the right message, they're going to convert. And we have a whole bunch of different ways of doing that. It's a bit of a science. We've got a kind of a best practice playbook, but it's all about being able to send the right push messages, doing personalized marketing campaigns, and working with geofencing to make sure that what you're sending is credible and on time. So how do you get the most profit from mobile ordering? Well, you can really do it 2 ways. And a lot of operators are kind of wading into the water. They're saying, hey, let me do mobile ordering on my own. It's a piece of functionality. There are a lot of companies that specialize in this. And what we're finding is that those results are disappointing from a business perspective. At the very least, they're completely unpredictable. So typically, with just mobile ordering alone, what you're seeing is 3 to 10% of the customer base being covered and an unknown impact on revenue. So what we recommend to clients is, let's take that jigsaw puzzle piece of mobile ordering and let's embed it in all the best interactive practices that go into a really successful mobile app. Now you've given that customer a new channel, a new way in which to consider your business, but you've given them all of the incentive around why they should use that new channel. And again, we're all about quantifiable results. So I'll share some of our benchmarks later, but we do know that you can get 30 to 40% of your customer base involved. And what involved means is an actual transaction going through the app. In a similar manner, we know, and we have a proven case study with KFC Amrest in Europe, where we produced 12% sales growth. It's very rare, but we had a customer who wanted to do very strictly controlled A/B testing. They took 10 different locations, they divided them into cells, they made sure that all of the exogenous factors around marketing, all of the TV, all of the promotions that might have been fed in, were exactly the same. The only difference was the mobile app was made available in 5 of those stores, and they were able to clearly see the 12% sales growth. We've got similar stories and cases that have been quantified for Pizza Hut and others. And we've won Loyalty 360 awards as a result of our cases. Loyalty 360 audits all of our figures, so they're very real. And it all starts with, we call them mobile apps that mean business. It all starts with knowing the objectives that you go in with for your mobile app to play a really revenue increasing role for your business. So we're able to build in. And I just want to review kind of a few of the variables that we surround mobile ordering with in order to make it work, and just kind of briefly bring them alive for you so you get a feel of what it is I'm talking about. So those other channels for engagement, we highly recommend having a mobile bonus loyalty program. And it's got to be visually based, and it's got to be very efficient. So if you're handing away dollars and discounts, that makes no sense. If you're handing away complimentary dishes that create an appetite appeal, that have an emotional relationship for the consumer, that might be, not a main meal necessarily, but a drink or a side, and you can provide visually compelling reasons. Smartphones today have incredible screen resolution. Even the worst smartphone today has such a potential appetite appeal in the visual image that it's kind of tough to get away from that. So this is our client Balanced Grill, who are, I think I mentioned number 32 in Fast Casual's 100. And they have a big hit with their bubble tea. They really want to get it sampled, and this was an ability to go in, give points, and provide a very rich menu of rewards. And I just wanted to throw this in because this is the real payoff. You're talking about taking light users who have been identified maybe only one time over the last month and converting them into medium and heavy users. And that's where your sales growth and your profitability comes from. And it's clear, I have lots of graphs along these lines, that can be done using a platform like ours. So it's all about highly visual communication. Again, the appetite appeal can't be denied. And what's happening is when you're serving a visual image to a consumer and you know their taste, you're able to come up with a highly personalized and relevant communication that plays into what you know to be their appetite appeal and their ordering. So the ability here to show, say, a summer menu in seasonal. And what's very important is what we use is the Facebook type news feed. And we've been using this for 6 years. Actually, Uber has switched over to this fairly recently. So what you see in navigation and user experience is very much a case of highly personalized and relevant information with news and offers being key to that. And there are so many different levers that you can pull, which are sort of very obvious. I'll show you a few in just a minute, which will stimulate your business in a profitable way. The other big change is the referral program that can come from social media integration. Now, I talk to people who've been in the loyalty field for a long time, and one of the preconceptions is, hey, we don't use loyalty because it only rewards my current loyal customers. Why would I want to do that? I'm giving away things for free to people who would buy them otherwise. Well, you got to recognize one of the big changes in our environment is the ability of a social media program to push out a loyal user's recommendation. You give them a couple of points, they post on Facebook, Suddenly you've got earned media that you didn't have to pay for, and you've got a lot of new customers who might have seen, an Instagram posting and are turned on by the appetite appeal of what you've got. And that is an enormous way to grow the business. And it's probably, if done right, your #1 consumer acquisition channel. And not only that, but now you've got a customer base of loyal users who you can now turn into advocates as well. And I'll talk about that, because these people want to like your brand. They're in a relationship with you now. So the question is, how do you begin working on that relationship to really make it a win-win situation for all involved? So geofencing is kind of the frontier. A lot of people are talking about doing it. It's really not as easy as we might make it sound, but we've got a lot of experience in making it work. And making it work essentially means that geofencing allows you to deliver a specific message to a specific consumer within a specific geographic range. Making it work means that you actually look at the implementation and make sure that it's doing what it is your company says it's doing. But within that, it becomes probably a primary strategy moving forward, because there's no question from a strategic standpoint, you can accomplish a lot with this. Couple of examples. It's 11:30. You're walking down the street. You are a McDonald's customer. They know that you come to McDonald's for lunch. They know that lunch has been a soft spot potentially. And they know that they can deliver a promotional message to you that will encourage you and move you down the funnel to consider them for lunch. So look for that push notification if you get the app, if it's done right. In a similar way, and I use McDonald's just as a kind of example, don't mean to be specific on them, but you're walking down the street, you're a McDonald's customer, and you're near a Burger King. They don't like that. Send them a push notification. Immediately, you're in the consideration set, and you might be headed away from McDonald's, away from Burger King, over to a McDonald's. These competitive tactics are going to become mainstream. There's nothing preventing mass-scale adoption of that today, other than the use of the platform by educated marketers. So I would look for a lot more of that. Of course, the key piece there is, not only do you have to recognize the mindset of the consumer, but you've got to understand what it is that will incentivize them to come in. So there's no shortage of different offers that you could provide that consumer. So understanding that consumer, building that knowledge base, all that data comes through the app and can be applied quite immediately to the business. Gamification is absolutely key. I'm a New York City commuter, and I look around on the New York City subway, and I can't believe the amount of candy that's being crushed at any one time. It's awesome. But the reality is there's a whole generation that grew up on mobile gaming. So the idea of gaming is kind of built into the mobile device. It's something that you can do and be very engaging. In a similar way, a loyalty scheme is an engagement. It's a game. It's aspirational. You want some free item that you've looked at. You don't particularly want to pay for it. You're willing to build up your orders in order to get it. You're willing to dine there more frequently in order to get it. And it's really not going to cost your restaurant all that much to deliver on that particular cross-sell item. So there's a gamification in the loyalty aspect. The other piece that's going gangbusters for our customers is the actual games that can be built in. So there are a lot of different variants of that. I'll just give you the kind of one that's blowing the numbers away. That's lotteries. We do some lotteries for very particular business objectives for clients where they know they're going to have a soft period in terms of traffic. So they want to stimulate the return of that customer at a very specific time. So they'll give a lottery entry mobily when you do your order, And then in order to validate and be in the lottery, you've got to come back and validate at a specific point in time in the future. Whether or not that's a slow Tuesday or winter in Moscow, whatever. But yeah, very, very specific business objective there. So lots of ways to play games, so to speak, for your customers. Millennials, you can give game codes as well. So great, great way of getting engagement. So another aspect of the platform is quality control, particularly as we look at digital ordering for delivery. You're now in the hands of third parties, potentially Postmates, Uber Eats, and the quality of delivery may not be there for your brand. Ultimately, it's you who are held responsible for that. Nobody really remembers who delivered it. They just know it's your pizza. So what we do is we build in a quality control aspect, and we look for feedback from customers. We continually prompt it. So you'll know from any particular store, from any particular delivery, where you're having problems, and you can immediately step in and correct. I talked before a little bit about turning loyalists into advocates. Well, if someone's taken the trouble to download your app and is using it, and someone takes the trouble to give you feedback, maybe negative, and not do it publicly, because if they do it publicly, you know, the stats are probably 30 lost customers for every complaint on Yelp. So if they do it privately and you give them points, they are a very happy customer, and they're willing usually to talk about and become an advocate for you in terms of what that recovery process looked like. This is a great brand. My pizza arrived upside down and flat, or you know, looking like a folded origami, but they responded quickly, they gave me points, and now I recommend the brand. So the quality control aspect is very important. The analytics piece is one that we really feel is the engine that runs everything that we do. It's the key to successful digital ordering. So what we have is what we call analytics to action. You can go in, all of your customer data is recorded on the platform. The frustration in the digital world is often that that analytics data is siloed and can't be used. So what's very important for our customers in gaining sales growth is the ability to identify a clear segment of customers and be able to turn around and target them with a very clear message. What that means on a very simple basis is, if you don't know which of your customers have returned to your store, you know, have come in, and you know you're in a great competitive set, then you have an ability with our Analytics to Action dashboard to identify that segment of customers who have not returned in some time period like the last month, and send them a push notification message, which inevitably gets very high conversion based on the ability to clearly identify them as a lapsed customer and send them a relevant message. And it's those targeted marketing campaigns that really work. So there's an ability in our dashboard to be able to read what those results are in a very clear way and take action on them. And I've just given you an example here of a full screen push notification where, you know, we say grab your free wings and fly. So it's all about the offer combined with the visualization, which is so compelling. So I just wanted to conclude with some benchmarks that we're seeing and maybe take some questions for you. And I should say, from a takeaway and delivery standpoint, we're seeing very different experimentation right now. So you really need a platform like this that can provide quantifiable measures around what you're doing in kind of the broader context to understand how to run your business, particularly on the takeaway side of the business, where we're seeing third parties charging up to 30%, and almost as importantly as the erosion of immediate profitability, it's the fact that those third parties are getting your data, and they know more about your customer than you do, and you don't want that in this environment. It's all about understanding and knowing your customer that's going to power your business forward in the future. But I'll give you just a couple of overviews of some of the stats that we're seeing. and what's measurable. In terms of App Store ratings, if you're wondering why I put that first, it's because if your app is not well rated in the stores, that's one of the key places where consumers go to understand the experience that they're going to be getting. We live in an age of consumer rating, so it's incredibly important to make sure that you're working with an app that will give you that. What we do is we provide a white label platform with 12 different modules that can be used by the marketer. And what we do is we give it your brand look and feel. So the Balanced Grill is an example of our white label platform on a consumer app. And typically we're looking at ratings of 4.5 or above. We've been working on that user experience to ensure that we get there for a long time. The second one is app penetration. A lot of people I talk to, when I say, hey, what's your experience with an app? They go, oh, I've got an app. That's not, we check that box. It's not a problem. So the reality is that the penetration number is probably your most important number for upper funnel to understand. And that penetration number means that what percentage of your actual transactions are going through your app? We think it should be a minimum of 30%. And when I go to a lot of conferences, I think the highest number I've heard on a panel has generally been about 17%. So there's something wrong if your app is not being used. In a similar manner, there are literally 1 million apps in the Apple Store. And the average American uses very few apps, but they will load up new apps every month. Of that, we have no doubt. So it's all about getting them engaged. It's all about being sure that you're getting an immediate promotion out to that customer. When Chick-fil-A gave away that sandwich, they've been able to maintain their client base over a long period of time because they provide compelling promotions. In a similar way, we've been able to do that for all our clients. And I have a very extended KFC case study if anyone really wants to understand all of the benchmarks that can go into creating 12% plus sales growth in digital. The app user average check is 43% more for our client Hooters in Europe. And that's a combination of things, not least of which is the fact that you get a lot of marketing automation campaigns, which are almost guaranteed to bring your average check up. I'll give you an example of that. A birthday. Nobody celebrates their birthday alone, particularly if you're going to Hooters, I'm told. So as a result, average check goes up very substantially, and that's what we see as a result of marketing automation and others. Campaign conversion rates, we see 27% conversion rate for a bounce back coupon. And again, it's all about a full page push notification. The bounce back is personalized to the dining behavior that's been demonstrated in the past, and that's what brings it up, personalized and relevant creative. Net Promoter Score, which you should be worried about, we can do in-app surveys, and our Net Promoter Scores always go up. And all that pays itself off in terms of sales increase, which in the case of, as I say, KFC is very well documented at 12%. So I just got told I have like 3 minutes left. Sorry about that. I want to take a lot of questions. If anyone has any immediate questions, please tell me now, or alternatively, talk to us over the rest of the conference. I'm here with a couple of colleagues, Rob back there and Brian as well, who might have reached out to you over the course of time. So
the 12% sales growth you're seeing, are you saying that that is incremental growth or a transfer to mobile from takeout and or drive?
No, I'm saying that's incremental growth, yeah. Very clearly, in a very, very well documented A/B test.
And that, again, is based on your app penetration of about 37%?
Exactly, yeah. And I don't know if you have it on a table, but we brought a well-documented case back here, which I can send you. Can I just grab that, the KFC case? So this gives you all the background, all the supports, walks through a lot of the promotions that made that happen, the analytics to action, all that good stuff.
How did you get to your recommended 30% number where you said if you're below 30% going through mobile, you think that's low? What's behind that?
Just the best practice playbook that we put together over a long period of time. We know that we can get you to upwards of 30%. It's just that people don't, do the work of really making sure that the platform is working and using all the insights that are generated. There's no question, intuitively, if you think about it, I mean, the numbers on Amazon are just staggering. I mean, I don't believe them, frankly, but I think they published that 150 million Americans are Amazon Prime customers. If you think about that behavior, it's not that everyone else is doing doesn't have access to those tools. It's the fact that Amazon is a digitally based business that's really, rocking and rolling. So, you should ask whoever you're working with to ensure that they're getting you that. And what we supplied in here, and I've given other presentations around our benchmarks, is, this one didn't have it, but the mobile benchmarks. That's a sheet that kind of highlights 10 different aspects of benchmarks that you should be achieving. And I'm sure we'll be publishing more as digital ordering becomes an increasingly large part of the business. Anything else immediate? Yeah.
What are you seeing in mobile app usage in the different segments? So quick service, fast casual, casual, up through fine.
Yeah, it really depends on the audience. A lot of our business has been in QSR. So QSR is relatively, it's our proven ground. We do a lot of business in fast casual as well. And actually, for instance, with Balance Grill, what we're who are essentially a fast casual concept, we're finding that the numbers that Balance Grill are doing with a millennial base of customers are actually higher than what we're able to get for KFC. That in particular is very encouraging. There's no question the more you skew millennial, the better off you'll be in terms of being able to leverage existing behaviors.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you had any stats on penetration or usage if the app offers delivery. If the delivery is part of the app, part of the component.
Right. I think we're relatively new there, but there's no doubt that when you look at the aggregators and the success they've had, that they're literally stealing your lunch. I mean, there's no reason why, Grubhub and Uber Eats should be allowed to take that business from you. You can not only it's obviously a key piece of it is Uber Eats business, and they're growing it at double-digit rates, but they're getting all of the data, which can't say enough about the importance of owning that yourself. But I'd be glad to share that as we kind of get a little bit more. I think it very much kind of varies, at this point, kind of restaurant to restaurant, and what the situation is in terms of third-party delivery in a market.
Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you. I look forward to talking more.